Then it's your turn.
Awesome. I will start sharing my screen now then. Great demo for the developer console. Love that. The developer console is super powerful. So thank you for showing everyone that, because I find it a great tool. So for my side of things then, hello everyone. My name is Jonathan Fox. I'm over here in the UK. I'm British, and I live and work in the north of England. I'm 25 years old and I am ex-Royal Military Police. So I'm a veteran from the British Army, which gives me some privileges within the Salesforce ecosystem. I get to be part of Salesforce Military, and they allow me to study with them, free certifications, and kind of like a military network within Salesforce. So it's quite cool. I like to always tell people about that because not a lot of people know it exists. It's open to every military in the world, near enough. So if you know people, get them over there. I'm a Salesforce developer at a consultancy within Leeds in the UK, and I'm aspiring certified technical architect. Who knows? I might get there one day, but not just yet. I'm the community group leader for the Leeds UK admin group, and I am an answers champion. So you might see my little face on the community where you see people who answer questions. However, that's enough about me. So what I want to do today is show you flows. Flows are super important because we saw workflow rules kind of get taken over by Process Builder, and then flows came about, especially in Lightning, and flows are growing and becoming even more powerful. And we'll see that especially in the summer 20 release when we get flow triggers. Eventually, and this is completely like a safe harbor comment, it's maybe not even strictly true, but I could see not only process builders completely taking over workflow rules, but I could see flows completely taking over process builders. Now, that's not any hard and fast rule or fact that I know, but just by the power of what flows can do, you can pretty much do most things, and you will be able to do pretty much most things. So today, I'm going to go over flows. Let's have a quick dive into flows and see what they're all about. So I'm going to head over to my flow builder. So if you go over into your Salesforce org and you click your cog up at the top right, click setup, and head over to the quick find box and type in flows. Many of you will have seen flows before, but for those of you who haven't, this is where you create your flows. Now, a flow is a way, there's two types of flows, and you know what, that's the best way to start. So we're going to go ahead and just click flow just to see what the types of flows we've got. Now we've got a screen flow and an auto launch flow. Come with a dev org, a dev edition. You can get them in your production sandbox. We're going to ignore those for now. What we're looking at is the type of flow: screen flow and auto launch flow. Now a screen flow, I want you to imagine, is a bit of a wizard, and not the magical kind. As in, when you go onto a website and you have that screen, you click next, you fill in some details, you click next, you fill in some details. That's a screen flow. It presents you with a screen, captures some details. You might have another screen after it. You click finish, job. An auto launch flow is kind of the same without the screens. It does things automatically in the background, which can be triggered by a process builder. Very complicated tasks, and it does those repetitive tasks for you. So the two types of flows that you have. What I'm going to go through today is, if we just head over to, I've got too many tabs open. If we head over to accounts and just go to one of my random accounts, what I'm going to show you to do is how to create a flow that when you click a button up here, it will create and relate it to this account. Now that sounds pretty simple on the offset, but it can get quite challenging if you're not confident with flows and don't understand how to structure them. Now, of course, you've got this button here for new contact. So I'm going to be showing you how to basically create this. yes, this functionality exists in Salesforce, but this is just to give you a bit of a flavor of what a flow can do. And then you let your imagination run with it, and you can do wonderful and wacky things. Now, in this scenario, I'm going to say that our sales reps or our admin who has to create these new contacts finds this. They're really simple people in this case. They don't like how many fields are here. So we're going to create them a simpler version using Flow. Now, at the end of this little session, I'm going to get you to the point where you're going to be confident enough to be able to build something that looks as crazy as that. Now, yes, that looks crazy, but we're going to go through each of these little points and explain what they are. Now, this doesn't just create contact, so don't worry about it. This is very complicated, but this is what I will show you later on. So we're going to go ahead and click ScreenFlow. When you click ScreenFlow, you're presented with a blank canvas, and this is perfect for us. What we want to go and do is take a look on the left-hand side here. Here we have elements, and there are three categories of elements. You've got your interactions, so they're the things that do things the end user interacts with. So you've got the screens, you've got some actions which are either pre-built out of the box from Salesforce, or you can code your own actions using Apex, or you can call a flow within a flow. Now that's mind-boggling and almost like flowception. So we're not going to go into that. We've got logic. Logic elements are, as it says here, assignment, decision, and loop. And they're pretty straightforward. You're assigning something, so you're going to set a record or a variable to something. You're going to make a decision based on what a user clicks. So if they tick a box, we go down one path. And if they tick a different box, we go down a different path. That's your decision. And then a loop is where if we've got lots of records and lots of variables, we're going to loop over them and do something to them. And then finally, what we've got here is our create, edit, update, and delete. So create a record, update a record. We're going to get the record if we want to search for one and do something to it. And we can actually delete records as well, which is a very powerful element here. Another manager is where you will see this list grow very quickly. This is where you store your variables. So just quickly looking at it, you can have a variable, constant form, you can have all sorts, and they serve different purposes. So we're going to go into that. First of all, what I want to do is I want to grab a screen, and we're going to label this screen in general. So this is going to be create a contact. Now, I am terrible at typing, so I apologize if I spell things wrong. I'm going to blame it on my typing. However, it's probably just because I can't spell. Things we want to consider about a screen flow. If we're going to create a contact, like in this case, you've got to remember there are required fields on a contact. Now, a required field on a contact, where is my screen? The only required field on a contact is last name. So that's the only one we have to ensure that the user captures. If they don't type it in and they click next on the flow will fail. You'll get a horrible email that probably doesn't make too much sense. However, our last demo showed you a way that you could possibly debug it and find out what was going wrong. So there's a couple of options now. Salesforce has grown massively in terms of different types of input. And we can see that a lot of them look familiar: address, checkboxes, dates, currencies. There's a bunch of ones come out of the box here from Salesforce. But then we've got some really cool ones like sliders, toggles. But one that Salesforce has given us, which is really, really nice of them now, is name. It means that at one point, what you had to do was select text and drag a different text onto the screen for first name, last name, middle name, and it got really confusing and got really boring to create them. Salesforce has been really nice over the last couple of releases, and they've given us the actual name component. So now we've got name. Everything you drag onto the screen has to have what is called an API name. API name is what a developer will reference in his code, what you might reference to in formulas. It's that _C kind of label that you find when you're creating fields. Now, everything's got to have an API name. Here, we've got to give it a name. all I would suggest is give it something logical. So I'm going to type here contact full name. Now, there's a couple of different methods to naming. You can either split your names up with underscores as such, or you can use something called camel case, which is every new word you put a capital letter. Either or works, it's whatever your preference is. I personally am lazy, so I will just do that. So that's the name of this component as a whole. Fantastic, we've got that. Now there's a lot here. There is a lot of different things that we have to set or can set for the name of the contact to capture it. And I'm going to go through them because they are important. I'm not going to go through them all because not all of them are. So disabled, global constant false. What the hell does that mean? Well, disabled is the component. Is it disabled? No, the component's going to be there. We're going to use it. Flows are really nice. We don't have to create a variable for false and a variable for true. They give us one. So if in this box we type false, we have a global constant. The global one, the value that we can use throughout the whole flow whenever we want, we have a false and we have a true. In this case, obviously, we're going to leave it as it was. We're going to have false. And fields to display. So thinking about your first name, your full name on a contact, you can see here you have full name, first name, informal name, last name, middle name. These are all values that come out the box with Salesforce. You can dig into the documentation. Full name is how you see it on the record, but in the background, you have them broken down into these kind of things when you create and edit a record. Just like on address, if you go onto any of your contact or account records and have a look at address, you'll see it as one field in the object manager. But in fact, there is address line 1, address line 2, state and province. They all kind of hide away in the background. So likewise here, they hide away. I want to show first name and last name. That's all I'm bothered about. So I've got them here, first name, last name. Separated by a comma. That's really not intuitive at all. I wouldn't know to do that in that box. That doesn't make it isn't obvious. We're lucky. We have a help text here, which tells us whatever field you want to display, put them in there, separate them by a comma. It's already done it for us. So we're quite lucky again. All we've had to do so far is name this component. Let's go down. Is it read-only? So some of these components, you can make them read-only, just like you would in your normal record view. And you have the option here. It's like that tick box that you get when you're putting a field on a page layout. However, we've got the option to do it here. I don't want it read-only. I want them to be able to fill this in. So let's go ahead and put false there. And I've got some salutation options here. Again, they're split off by commas, as you can see. So we can add more if we want. And this is the bit down here where it gets a bit more interesting. And this is what we kind of have to think about a bit more. If I click manually assign variables, it gives me, oh, well, in fact, if I untick it because it's ticked by default, we don't have all that list. That's the first. If we tick it and have a look, what we get is all of the fields that we saw up here, we get them again. However, this time we can set a variable. The variable is, imagine your variable is a bucket and you are placing your information into that bucket. That is all a variable is. It's a bucket that you can contain information. So I want to use the information that the user puts in here. So I want to use the information they put in for first name, and I want to use the information they put in for last name. I'm not bothered about the rest of it, so I'm not going to set a variable for them. So if I go in there, click it, you're not presented with anything. You've got your global variables, but you're not going to use those. So we need to create a resource. And that's what we saw over here when we clicked on manager, was resources. So I'm going to go ahead and click resource and have a look at this long list. Now I need a variable. I need it to change. It potentially, we can evolve this flow eventually to create lots of contacts in one go. And when the user's had enough of creating contacts, we can finish it. So that variable needs to be able to change on each loop. So we're not just thinking about the small picture of right here, right now. We're thinking about what this could do eventually when we've got more time and we've got more requirements. A constant is, if you set it, it stays as that. End of story, you've set it, it's done. It's like you've used that bucket and then you put a lid on top. You can't use it again. So in this case, we're going to click variable. As with everything, we need an API name. So thinking logically, this one is for my first name. So first name, and possibly, would I ever be creating a lead at the same time within this flow? Maybe. So let's not small picture of right here, right now. We're thinking about what this could do eventually when we've got more time and we've got more requirements. A constant is, if you set it, it stays as that. End of story, you've set it, it's done. It's like you've used that bucket and then you put a lid on top. You can't use it again. So in this case, we're going to click variable. As with everything, we need an API name. So thinking logically, this one is for my first name. So first name, and possibly, would I ever be creating a lead at the same time within this flow? Maybe. So let's not get confused. Or I might want to use first name again somewhere. So I'm creating a contact first name. I want to make it super, super obvious, because if I make this flow and then who knows, I get offered another job and I go elsewhere, someone's going to have to look at this one day. And yeah, who cares? I'm not working there anymore, but it's my work. So I want them to know I've done a good job because that's my reputation. So let's make the API name, let's make the labels all really obvious. We can add a description. So the contact's first name, something really nice and simple, as you do with fields in Salesforce anyway. You can add help text and descriptions. This, we're not collecting multiple values at once. It's every time we come to it, we'll collect one value, which is the first name. We're not getting lots and storing them in one go. And what we're going to do here is choose the type. It's going to be type of text. We know that. Fantastic. We don't need a default value. And these are for outside of the flow, so we can ignore those for now. Fantastic. Well, we want to store the last name, and the last name is really important because that's the required field. So let's go ahead and create them again. So another resource type, variable, and I'm going to do contact, last name, add a description if you want, and then we're going to go ahead and click text again. That's really great. I have now just captured first name and last name on a screen. But if I click save now, create a contact flow, and we click save, I can't run it because if I do, I should be presented with either a blank screen or an error. There we go, blank screen. And why is that? Well, that is because we're here on this start node, but we're not connected to anything. So let's go ahead and connect it to there. Now I can click save and I can click run again. And this time I will see my first name and last name box. And if I click finish, great, it reloads, done. That hasn't created us a contact. We have just captured the information and done nothing with it. So what do we do now at this point? We can now look here at our data section, and we want to create a record. So let's go ahead and drag record on, create record onto the screen. As with everything, let's label it something really logical. So create contact record. Labels and API names, don't get confused with them. A label, you can have spaces, you can have special characters, you can have near enough whatever you want. An API name cannot contain spaces and cannot contain special characters unless it's the underscore. So if I click in description now, it's going to autofill. It will probably do create contact record with underscores under it. There we go. And how many contacts am I wanting to create? At this moment in time, we're just creating one contact at a time. So I'm going to leave it as one. However, we can create multiple. So it is an option. And I'll give a couple of examples when. And setting the record fields. Now, I can let it try and do it itself, or I can specify them. So let's go ahead and let's specify them. We're going to create an object. So let's go ahead and look for our contact. And here is where I specify which value maps to which. This is my mapping section for creating this record. Here I can go first name. That's the contact first name, the field. What value am I giving this first name? Well, I save that value under the variable here. So I'm going to give it whatever the user put into contact first name. Remember, we need last name because that's the required field. So let's go ahead and search for last name, value, contact last name, and done. Remember to link it up, and you have just now created your contact record. This is because we're doing something that requires Lightning. We're all using Lightning at the moment, but the reason why it gives you this error is because potentially if you try and launch this flow in Classic, it may not work. So if I go ahead now and click run, what I'm presented with is my screen again. Let's think of a name. We're going to go my colleague's name, Jack Holdsworth. There we go. If I click next, let's see what happens. Okay, so we didn't get an error. It looked like it worked. So I'm going to go ahead and have a look now in my contacts. Contacts, there we go. And there you go. You can see it right at the top there, Jack Holdsworth. I've just created that contact with a flow. Fantastic. We've still not achieved what I wanted to achieve though. We're lazy. We don't want to go into contacts. We don't want to do it like that. We want a button up here that creates that contact whilst we're looking at the account. Maybe we're on the phone and we're talking to the CEO of this company, this account, and he said, I need you to carry on these conversations, but with my CTO. Okay, let's take his details. We don't want to be creating contact here because all we're bothered about right now is the first name and last name. We don't want to look at all these fields and accidentally put the last name there. That's why we're using this flow. We're making it really simple, but the button's not there. What do I do? Let's go to the object manager. So I'm on the object manager here and I want to create that button. So let's head over to buttons, links, and actions. And I'm going to click new action. With a new action, what I can do is we know that we're doing it on the account object, and I want to call that flow that I've just made. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, where is my flow? I can't see it. Really, really easy mistake to make, and I do it all the time. Head back to your flow. Yes, you've saved it. Don't forget to activate it. So let's head back over here now. Just give it a refresh. Salesforce likes to cache things and it may not be updated straight away. So let's have a look. There we go. Create contact flow. Fantastic. Now, because it is a demo, there is a create contact already. So let's just add flow on the end so that we know which button's which. That is still not going to be on that page just yet. So let's head back to there at the account. Page layouts. We need to add it onto the page layout. Now it's a lightning action, so it's under mobile and lightning actions here. And what we can see now is our create contact flow button. I'm going to drag and drop that over here. I'm going to save. And I'm going to refresh my page and see if it appears. Let's hope it's crossed. There, task and click it. I've now got my flow. I can create that contact there. That's amazing. And it's a lot simpler and quicker than looking at that. My sales rep and my admin still doesn't like it because when I create this contact now, it creates the contact fantastic, but it doesn't relate it to this account. I want it automatically related to this account so I see it here and I don't have to go in, edit, look up to the account and do all the nonsense. So let's go back and have a look. We're going to have to deactivate it. And we're going to have to think about how are we going to make this work because our admin is testing us here. It's a really, really simple fix. Salesforce has made it super, super simple for you. If we head over to Manager and click New Resource, you only have to create one more resource. And we click Variable. API name. Now this is the really, really important is record, capital ID. And it really does matter about the capitalization here, the sentence case. It has to be all lowercase apart from that I. Now, what that does is record ID. It means that Salesforce is really nice to you. When you are on a record, such as this, and you click one of your flows, if you have a variable called record ID spelled exactly like I just showed you, it will pass that record ID into your flow for you without you having to search for the record, use the get record elements. It will do all that hard work for you. All you have to do is click manager, new resource, variable, and type record ID. Now let's, and it's text as well. The reason why it's text is because it is a string of letters and numbers. It's not a whole record, it is just letters and numbers. So that's why we don't use any of these other ones. It is a text field, kind of. So I'll go ahead and click done. It's passing it in, we're still not doing anything with it yet. So let's make sure that in here we do account, ID, and we are giving it the value of our record ID. Let's go ahead and click done. We're going to go ahead and save as a new version. Fantastic, and don't forget to activate. Now this is where I pray to the demo gods that it works. Let's have a look. So I haven't got any contacts here. I'm going to create contact flow. I'm going to go James Dean, and if I click next, fingers crossed. Oh, it didn't work. Let's take a look and see why. So did it create our contact? Let's have a look. We created James, fantastic. And let's have a look what he's got there. He's got the account, he's got the name that we gave him. Why hasn't he got the right account? I can see the accounts there, it looks fine. Let's have a look over, let's get rid of some of these tabs to make it really quick and easy. So I've captured the name, I've got the record ID here, I'm creating the contact and I'm looking it up to record ID. Why is it not working? Now that's a really good question. So what we shall do is we will debug. There we go. That was a bit of a glitch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it in an account ID as a mock, and we're going to see why it's not working. And this kind of relates back to the last demo. Debugging is really important because it's not always you're going to get something right every time. So I've got the account ID here. Let's go to our debugged flow, input variables. I haven't got an input variable. Why is it not letting me give an input variable? I thought, Jonathan, you just said it automatically does the work for us. Kind of does, but I missed a fundamental point. Let's go back to the record ID here. And remember when I said we'll ignore it for now? We've got this bit here, available for availability outside of the flow. We are passing that record ID outside of the flow. We're doing it before the flow starts. So we need this variable available for input. We are letting somebody outside of the flow use it for input. Let's go ahead and click done now that we've ticked it. We're going to go ahead and save it as a new version. General warning, let's activate it. And we will go ahead and have a look again. I'm going to click a different account just to completely prove to you that I'm not doing anything sneaky. We've got a contact here already, Edna Frank, classic Edna at Gene Point, that she's in every org. We'll go ahead and click create flow. And this time, gosh, I'm running out of names. Not very imaginative. So we'll go for Amy Jones. I click next. There we go. Amy Jones has now appeared under our contacts. Pretty straightforward and simple when you come to think about it. However, at the beginning of this demo, if I said to you, I want you to create a flow that pops up on the screen, captures the first, last name, and relates them automatically to the account that I'm looking at. If you haven't done it before, that's quite a daunting task. And maybe you'd think that's a developer's job to do. Definitely not. This is something that everyone can do. And once you get your head around it, it's actually quite straightforward. We've got 3 sections, and one of them starts off for us. We've got a screen to capture the fields that we want. And within that, we have got our components to capture the data. On each of these data points, the first name, the last name, we are giving it a bucket, something to hold that information. And then we are telling it what to do with that information. We're saying create a contact with the first name using that bucket of information, last name, bucket of information. And we've told Salesforce, here's another bucket, give me that record ID. I'm making it available for outside of the flow. You do the hard work. I'm just going to tell you where to put it. And it's on account ID. That is our screen flow. Now, there are a couple more things you can do. And yep, they get a bit more complicated. And I think at this stage, I will show you my really complex flow. I will go through it, but maybe not go through every single step, because I want to show you how it can evolve, but without going too much into detail. So in the last demo, we touched upon governor limits, how many times you can create a record in a single transaction, so this flow would be a single transaction, is limited. However, if I wanted to create multiple contacts at the same time, that's where I need to start thinking about how do I do it all in one go. That's where we use assignments and loops. Think of your loop as how many times we want to go over it. The assignment, what I would do is I'm using the assignment to assign my variables to a collection. And once I've finished adding to that collection, I create the record all in one go. I create the whole collection in one go. That counts as one transaction. It's a really nice way of doing a bulk creation and not hitting those governor limits. Now, just move that over there. What I have here is I will show you my actual flow, and I'm going to allow everyone to actually have access to it. So my flow builder here, this looks like a massive web of confusing flow stuff. It's not too much. We've got the screens, like you saw, and they are capturing information. I'm using toggles, cool. I'm using a bit of text, a checkbox. They're capturing information, and I've done the same thing. I've used variables to capture things. Here I've got a decision, so let's have a look at the decision node. We labeled the decision, so we've got 2 routes. We've got SQL stuff and create a record. I'll show you those in a second. But that resource, that variable, if it's true, then it's going to go down this path. And if it's false, it's going to go down that path. Well, that's quite logical, really. It's going to go down that path, and if not, it's going to go down that path. That makes sense. And it then presents us with another option, another screen. Shall we create an account? Shall we create a contact? We take the variable, so we take the account information, so the name of the account that we got here, we add it to a list of accounts. Do they want to create another one? Sorry, no, that would be, we wouldn't ever want to create 2 accounts in one go. If they create a contact, we've got the contact information, and we are going to assign the contacts to a collection of contacts. Do they want to create another one? Yes, create another contact. And we keep going around that until they've had enough of creating contacts. Now in this area, we've got loads of single contacts, and we're adding them to this collection of contacts. Fantastic. That's great. We've now got hundreds of contacts that they've created. We then create the contacts all in one go by using that collection of contacts that we added up here. It's really, really intuitive what you can do. And that's why I'm going to give everyone this flow. How am I going to give you that flow? I'll show you in a minute. But I'm going to actually show you what the flow does first. So if we go ahead and have a look, let's go to my home tab. And what we hear is cool demo. Yeah, it's really sad. What I've got here is a post that a friend of mine, Chris Emmett, posted on LinkedIn today. This post on LinkedIn is actually inside the flow. It's really quite cool. Now, this video that he's got here explains what a flow and what that assignment and the loops actually do. Yeah, really quick. Look at him go through it. Yeah, it's simple. Maybe. Let's have a look. Let's try again. How he describes it, and it's a really good analogy. So I him on Twitter, LinkedIn, and have a look at this video. But you're getting the records, and he's describing it as clothes that you want to take to the charity shop. You've got them, and you're going to go over each shirt that's in your basket. You're going to iron them and then put them in a separate bag. You're going to go over and over all of the shirts. So that's the loop and the 2 assignments. And then when you're done, that creates the record all in one go that I mentioned. That's you giving that bag of shirts to the charity shop. That's a really cool analogy of how that simple loop and the assignments work. So I'm going to provide you with the link to that within the flow, so you can have a look at actually how do these assignments and decisions and updating collections, basically what you saw there from Chris was this loop here. And I've done this loop here, and I've done the same one here, and the same one here. I've just done the same thing over and over again. Now I've mapped it out in this kind of diagram here, but that's just because I'm a bit OCD with my lines and I like them all straight. You can move them anywhere and do whatever you want with them. Now that's going to upset me because I saw that one out of place. What else can you do with flows? Now I want to get those creative juices flowing, and I've got a few minutes left now to show you what you can do with flows. This flow I'm going to give you so you can break into it, have a look at how it all works, look at all my variables and look at all my elements. So I'm going to click next. Do I want to create a contact, or do I want to create an account? Now, yeah, I know I've got a tick there. I can't really do much about that, but I just wanted to show you that you can use a toggle. It acts as a true and a false. Depending on if I click contact or I click account, that's where I am at this point. If we just have a look, this is my toggle here. That's my decision. Do I create an account or do I create a contact? And it just goes to another screen. Do I want to create an account? Fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at that really quick. Click next. That's my account screen that I've just set. I then Bob's account. Great. Do I want to create a contact? Well, let's have a look at the decision. I'm at this point here. Do I create a contact? No. So it'll just create the account for me. Do I want to create the contact? Yes. Well, let's have a look at that really quick. I'm going to tick that, create a contact. I can create the contact. Do I want to create another contact? And this is where this loop comes into play. If I click yes, it goes round until I've had enough. And then I create the account that I created over here. I do that because I want to relate that the contact I've created to that account. Once I've created that account, I've got the account ID at this point. I can loop over all the contacts that I've got in this collection. I loop over them and give them that account ID. And then I create all of the contacts and look them up to the account. Pretty cool. Pretty quick and easy as well. It saves me a lot of time. All I have to do is fill out these details. I don't have to search for that account each time. I don't have to click look up. And there we go. I've created my account and I've created a bunch of contacts. Bunch of really cool stuff. So let's have a look. Oh, look at that. I can hide things. Now, on that true bar there, where I click it, get true, that is on my checkbox. This slide and this password bit here, if we have a look, we see set component visibility. And what I've done is, yeah, this checkbox equals true, it's going to show. And same with this one. Really simply, I can hide things from the user if I don't want them to use it unless they click a certain box or fill in a certain field. So there we go. So I'm hoping you guys want to see the cool stuff. How much do you want to see it? 100%. We want to see the cool stuff. And we need a password. Well, you're going to get hold of this flow. So you're going to have to figure out the password if you want to have a look at it. I know the password, so there we go. Let's have a look. This is what you can put within a flow. You can put a YouTube video. You can put a GIF. You can put an image. We can even have text of different sizes, of bold, italic, underlined. We can put different justifications, left align, justified, center, and right aligned. We can use bullet points. We can even put images directly into the flow. And we can then have a look at embedding links. We've even got a calendar element here. This is an out-of-the-box one. All of this here that I've done above, apart from these two, are in a text box. And I'll quickly show you that. We've got enough time. This link, fantastic. Look, there you go. You're really lucky. I've given you the link directly to my YouTube channel where you can actually have a look here. And there are a bunch of demos on how to create a flow. Let's just really quickly have a look at the screen flow here. And this text box here, display text, it's a rich text. You can do everything you want. What you see is what you get. You can do everything there with the different fonts and everything there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand back over to the team. Thank you very much for staying with me and listening and looking at flows. You have got the power. You can definitely do it. Before I go and hand back over, if you want to grab that flow, head over to this link here. It's case sensitive. That is available on as a package, unmanaged package. Grab it, chuck it into one of your sandboxes, JFox UK Dev Flow, and you can have a look at how I created that flow, dig into it, have a play around with it. If you need any help or want to have a chat with me about anything, there's my contact details. Again, thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate it.